What would you do if, in the dead of night, the echo of marching boots and the distant rumble of tanks felt so close that you couldn't tell whether the shadows creeping along the walls were your own, or the ghosts of a nation collapsing in real time? On this day, as the ashes of France's defeat still smoldered after the German Blitzkrieg tore through Europe with terrifying speed, the strange, tragic birth of Vichy France began, an improvised government formed not in triumph, but in fear, confusion, and the chilling belief that surrender might preserve what little remained of a battered nation. Yet deep inside its heart lay a horror few could imagine. For when Marshal Pétain stepped forward to accept full powers under the guise of national salvation, soldiers retreating from the front carried stories so dark that even the bravest medics trembled. Tales of wounded men dragged through burning village squares, or collapsed roofs crackled like skeletal fingers. Tales of night raids where stretcher-bearers followed eerie trails of blood glowing in lantern light. Tales whispered by survivors who claimed they heard screams under rubble long after the battle had ended, as if the dead refused to accept defeat. And while the Vichy regime publicly promised order and renewal, behind its polished speeches grew a brutal machinery of collaboration, censorship, and betrayal. French officers were ordered to stand down, resistance networks were hunted, Jewish families were rounded up in silent dawn operations, and medics, those trained only to save life, found themselves caught in the crossfire of moral collapse, patching up soldiers who begged them not to send them back into towns where the Gestapo ruled the night with boots that echoed like hammers on coffins. By 1942, when German forces fully occupied the unoccupied zone and Vichy's mask of autonomy shattered, chaos swallowed the illusion of control. Secret police interrogations filled underground cells with the metallic scent of fear. Resistance fighters detonated charges beneath armored convoys, and in forests lit only by muzzle flashes, medics crawled through mud, thick as blood, searching for survivors whose uniforms were sometimes so shredded they looked more like remnants from nightmares than from battlefields. And one medic, in a chilling incident near Limoges in 1943, reported finding a soldier alive beneath a pile of bodies who whispered that he had heard his fallen comrades breathing, even though none had lungs left intact. A story dismissed as trauma, yet retold endlessly by those who felt the war had opened a door humans were never meant to see through. By the time Allied forces crushed German holdouts and Vichy officials attempted last-minute escapes in 1944, France emerged not only liberated, but haunted by the scars of a government that had bargained with darkness. Its leaders were arrested, its collaborators tried, and its legacy etched into history as a cautionary reminder of how quickly fear can become tyranny, how swiftly a nation can unravel when hope is replaced by desperation, and how even in the most horrifying chapters of war, medics still ran toward the wounded while the world collapsed around them. So the real question, the one that still sends chills down the spine of anyone who studies this era, is this: if you were trapped in those nights of collapsing governments, ghostly battlefields and screams echoing through burning towns, would you choose to fight, to flee, or to survive long enough to tell the world what horrors a nation can unleash when it believes surrender is safer than courage?